And joining us, as promised, is the one and only chairman and editor-in-chief of Forbes magazine, or Forbes Media, I should say, Steve Forbes. Steve, it's so good to talk to you again.
Good to be here, Steve. Thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. All right, let us start, first of all, with a couple of CBO reports that came out within the past week, and both of them bad news for the administration. One on on Obamacare, the disincentive to work, causing millions of man-hours to go bye-bye because people will choose not to work because they'll get their health care for free, subsidized, et cetera. Basically, they're motivated to stay home. And then the minimum wage nonsense, where the CBO said again that jobs, I think 500,000 jobs will be lost if you raise the minimum wage, which of course is kind of common sense. But this administration won't back down on either of those. They haven't backed down on either of those issues.
No, and they do a spin that would make George Orwell, who wrote the book 1984 and invented what they call newspeak, like freedom is slavery and stuff like that. The White House just declares, oh, you're going to have more leisure time. You're going to be able to write poetry, learn to play the piano. And on the CBO thing, they put happy face on it, on both of those reports. And so they're in their own world. I think Disney should sue them for creating Fantasyland and not getting royalties for it. This is bizarre.
And of course, one of the things I left out when I gave your credits, of course, was a former presidential candidate. And Steve, I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that this administration, after 5+ years of economic failure, job creation failure, regulatory issues run amok and out of control, which stifles job creation and innovation and risk taking. I have a hard time believing that this is all well-intended failed policies that they believe will turn around. They got to know what they're doing is not going to produce jobs.
Well, it's all George Bush's fault. Oh no, that was last term's excuse.
Yeah, no, believe me, they'll pull it out.
But I think they are a little surprised things haven't gone better. But his agenda has been very clear from the get-go. He is a socialist, like the president of France is a socialist. You can't say it here in France. You can. And that's why he knows you don't take over industries anymore. That's passé. You control them. So you take over 1/6 of the economy through health care. You take over the levers of finance by, in effect, making the banking system, financial system, more and more dependent on you. Free speech, well, the FCC is going to examine whether you're doing the news right. You have sources of energy they don't approve of, well, they'll send in this is all authoritarian control stuff. It is frightening, and I'm a little annoyed that our friends in Congress haven't found a way to bring him to task. I think the Supreme Court is going to rule against him on the way they've played around with the National Labor Relations Board. But they should sue on what's happening with Obamacare. I mean, changing the law every day. I mean, God, I wish I could do that. I'm not going to pay my taxes today. I'm going to postpone it a year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know who has standing anymore, Steve. I've been through this with so many different Congress people, and
you don't have to worry about standing. Just do it.
Yeah.
And say this is an assault on the Constitution.
Yeah.
And then see what happens.
No, you're right. Now let's talk about that FCC you bring up, and I'm glad you did, where the FCC and we got the warning from one of the members of the FCC who wrote a great op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. Saying that the FCC is going to send people into newsrooms all over the country to see how stories are picked, who's picking them, are minorities getting shortchanged. I mean, again, they can't bring back the fairness doctrine because Congress will never pass it, so they circumvent, and they're going to do it this way, the way they use the APA to circumvent, as you alluded to. I mean, now, as a man in your position, chairman of a huge media conglomerate, I mean, your take, you indicated your take on this, but did you ever, in your wildest dreams or wildest nightmares, imagine that this would be happening?
No, and I guess with this administration, one shouldn't be surprised at their brazenness. I mean, you look at the IRS, after they get caught red-handed suppressing groups for the 2012 elections, they then turn around and turn it into regulations. Say, well, we'll just make it legal to suppress these groups. And amazingly, the organizations like the ACLU, which are normally not on our side, are on our side on this one. They know that Republicans could turn this against them. So it's amazing. And by golly, if any of those people try to come here, watch out. They ain't going to get in our building.
Ah, I like that. I like that. And of course, why would they come to newspapers or print at all when they don't give licenses to print? They give licenses to broadcast media. So, but they're intending to go to newspaper and print newsrooms as well. So that tells me there's a bigger agenda here somewhere.
Yes, it is. And this is not something that was conjured up by the FCC. This was conjured up, put a chill.
Yeah.
So it happened to J.P. Morgan. And no one likes banks these days, but they were picked out because the head of that company dared to oppose our esteemed leader.
Yeah, Jamie Dimon, yeah. Yeah, very, very frightening. We're talking to Steve Forbes here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Before we get to health care specifically and what's going on foreign policy-wise, let me ask you about Janet Yellen and the new head of the Fed. And where do you stand on the quantitative easing and the, QE and all that? And do you believe that their tapering is going far enough?
The tapering, the sooner it ends, the better. One of the perverse consequences of the central bank trying to run the country is that it made it very easy for government to borrow, deficit without tears, very easy for large entities to borrow and trying to bail out homeowners. But small businesses have been hurt. They've not been able to get a secure line of credit for creating jobs. And they've been suffering. And the Wall Street Journal had a piece the other day about new companies rising up to finance small businesses, but it ain't at a bargain, 20, 30, 40% interest rates. But a lot of small businesses take it because it's a lifeline.
It's just so sad. All right, I want you to hear something Michelle Obama said on Jimmy Fallon's show yesterday, and I got a feeling there's many stories been written already about how the exiting of Jay Leno and the addition of Fallon is making it more Obama friendly already at late night.
Leno was FCC investigations for them.
No, none needed, and Leno was really the only one critical at all, really, of Obama in any way, shape, or form. But I want you to listen to Cut 44. This is Michelle Obama talking about youngsters in Obamacare. All right, so calling young people knuckle extension, of course, you and me, the policies we might have had, we were too stupid to know that they weren't good. These are better. But what really bothers me...
I thought this was great progress. She says only young people are knuckleheads.
Yeah, but she didn't address the rest of America who are too stupid to know how good they are having it now. But here's the thing, Steve. I have been saying from day one, especially with young people, quote unquote, they might be able to get a policy for the cost of their cell phone bill. I don't know what their cell phone bill is, but if they slice their finger or fall off a stool and have to go to the emergency room or to the doctor, they're going to get a bill for the full amount, and they're going to call up that emergency room or that doctor and say, wait a minute, I got insurance, and then they're going to learn the word
It's a real bait and switch. You have health insurance. No, you don't.
Right.
And what they've done with Obamacare is give us the worst of both worlds. I mean, I think people should, in a true free market, have the choice if they want a high deductible plan, pay the routine filling of a tooth, but have full coverage if something big happens to you. But what they've done now is you're getting high deductibles and less coverage. It's a bad deal all around. The knuckleheads are the ones who put this program together, not the young people who are beginning to wise up that if they need the insurance, then they can go on the exchange and get it after they get sick.
Yeah.
Why do it before?
Absolutely. Well, the only problem with that being, and that was talked about, even before this happened. But it might take you 3 months to sign up for the insurance online. That's the problem, or longer.
Yeah. 3 years from now. We processed your plan.
Obama is calling Putin. That's the big news of the day. I would assume they'll talk a little bit about Ukraine, but I'm sure Obama will say, "What can I give you?" to start the conversation. But what do you? What do you think they'll talk about? And what's your take on what happened in Ukraine?
Well, I think first Obama will offer asylum for that hockey coach. And Putin will say, why didn't your team lose? That would have been a good reset.
Yeah, reset Russia, right.
And And on Ukraine, I'm sure Putin will bite his tongue and pretend to take the call very seriously. But he's worried not about Obama. He's worried about the fact that the people of Ukraine are rising up and are forcing the government to back down. Several of the other former parts of the Soviet Union have not backed down. Have backed down, smaller entities like Armenia, but Ukraine's the big one, and I think he's a little worried. So he'll say soothing words to Obama, not saying anything nasty, don't hurt his self-esteem. But Obama's going to have zero play on this. Putin's trying to figure out how to do in Russia.
Yeah, right, with a big stick. Who do you see emerging from the Republican Party? It's usually someone you least expect, but I think we know who the possibilities are. And do you have any interest in running again?
I'm an agitator now, so I'll be like everyone else looking over the field. Not made my mind up yet at all. I want to see who emerges after these elections. But I'm excited about what some of the governors are doing. I know the Democrats are after Walker again.
Yeah.
And which shows that he's a guy who doesn't frighten people, but knows how to handle a crisis, knows how to handle pressure. He's been under intense pressure and is not wilted. I want to see if Jindal can get it together. Christie, as we know, my home state governor, has been hit with this traffic thing. You would have thought that he was the IRS personified, but IRS can suppress people. But if you mess up on traffic, by golly, they'll hound you out of office. I think he'll survive it, and so he could become a contender. And then he's going to have to show that he's got some good, positive, conservative initiatives to offer. And on the Senate side, we'll see how Rand Paul does on the national stage. I think he's certainly intending to run. So there are a lot of people out there, and maybe some will run that we haven't thought of yet. And the thing to keep in mind is, one, you never look like a president till you take the oath of office. So these are very human beings right now.
Right.
And two is, remember, no one, not 1 in 100 million, other than perhaps Obama himself, vice president someday. But
especially not Hillary Clinton, right?
Yeah. And so don't despair. I just remember how Reagan looked like was portrayed as an old, doddering man past his prime in the late 1970s and was one of the great dynamic presidents, positive presidents in American history.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree with you more, except I think what we're up against, what the Republicans are up against these days, what Reagan wasn't up against, even though he was up against the media certainly has changed greatly in number and in political slant and being proud of it since Reagan ran. And as long as Republicans don't understand that or are unwilling to, thank you for spending so much time with us.
And keep the faith.
Yes, you too, sir. Thank you.
Keep fighting this thing.
I hear you. Take care.
You too. Thanks, Steve.
The great Steve Forbes, chairman and editor-in-chief of Forbes Media, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. If the FCC comes knocking at his door, they ain't getting in my newsroom. That's what he said. I like that fight, and I'd like to see that fight. I hope it doesn't come to that, but hey. All right, we're coming back, folks, with the panel. Rick Unger will be here, and John Gizzi on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax Television.